Today, I want to talk about the sales forecast. Every entrepreneur has to develop a financial forecast. And generally speaking, if you're going to go out and raise capital, either equity capital or debt capital, it doesn't matter. You need to have a financial forecast. And typically, they're going to require that it goes out for 36 months, 3 years, or in some cases, up to 60 months or 5 years. And the foundational document of any financial forecast is the sales forecast. And here's where you look at your units of sale, which is a harder topic than a lot of people think about, because it's obvious if you have a product, right, that it's a single stock keeping unit or a unit of sale. But of course, if you have multiple products, they each constitute an individual item that might be sold, but they also can be bundled in different ways, and you can have different types of discount packages and so on. So the units of sale are something that you need to think deeply about. And then, of course, your pricing is set up in your sales forecast, and you have to then also consider your growth rate. How much are you going to continue to sell in addition to the units from last month? How many additional units are you going to sell in the subsequent months? And what does that look like going forward? And of course, as the foundational document, the sales forecast is the first thing that you develop. And that the numbers that you develop here flow through into your income statement or your P&L, into your cash flow statement, into your balance sheet, right? So those are the four fundamental documents. But I'm focusing on the sales forecast. And the most common mistake that entrepreneurs make when they do the sales forecast is that they generate the numbers, they put in their units of sale, they put in their pricing, they put in their ramp rate or their growth from month to month. And then after that's all done, and they've worked pretty hard on trying to come up with the appropriate numbers, done some research, looked at the pricing that's in the marketplace and so on. And then they move on to the profit and loss statement, and they start adding expenses now to the revenues that they were able to show in the sales forecast. And the expenses start adding up. And as they add up, you're paying all kinds of costs in terms of personnel. Maybe you've got some operational costs that include manufacturing, or at least in some way processing of whatever it is that you're bringing into the marketplace. Maybe you have shipping costs, maybe you have sales costs, maybe you have office rent and other kinds of things. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, I'm not making any money, that the business can't be profitable. And, you do the whole thing. And after a year, in fact, you're deeply, in the red on profit. So here's the temptation, right, that a lot of entrepreneurs fall prey to that haven't done this before. And that is, you go back to your sales forecast and you start tweaking around with the units of sale, and maybe your pricing or whatever. And, so you generate more revenue just by simply working on the numbers on your sales forecast. And suddenly, lo and behold, I get into profitability. But the point is, why did you generate those numbers in the first place if you're just going to go back and change them? So here's my advice to all entrepreneurs who are developing a sales forecast, whether it's your first time or your 100th time, it doesn't matter. The way to do it is to make sure that you spend a lot of time on getting those numbers to a point where you believe in them and you believe those numbers. And, you believe in these are the units of sale, this is the pricing I'm going to be able to get, and this is the volume that I'm going to be able to achieve in my sales. And then basically, after you've really beat yourself up and worked those numbers and done all the research that you possibly can, then you put that away and you live with it, right? And you don't go back. So that you need to force yourself to make the business work by extracting cost, getting creative on reducing expenses in so many different ways, whether it's working out of your garage, whether it's reducing your own personal pay, or raising additional money so that you can make it to cash flow break even, wherever that might be. But the point is, don't go back and play with the numbers on your sales forecast. Once it's done, and you better work hard on it, because this is the foundational document whose numbers run through all the other documents that you make in your overall financial forecast. So the most common mistake that entrepreneurs make is to develop a sales forecast. Turns out it doesn't work. They go back and start tweaking, and maybe maybe I can get twice as many sales in month one than I thought, and all of a sudden it all blows up, right? Because it cascades through the entire system. And you lose track of the fact that you believed those numbers in the first place, and now you're merely tweaking it to make it work on paper. don't do that.